The Beginnings of the Union. Growing up in 1970s Australia, religion wasn't much of a guiding force in my life. It was more like background noise. I went through religious instruction in primary school, which was basically mandatory Sunday school. We learned Bible stories like Christmas, Easter, Noah's Ark, yada yada. But my parents weren't particularly religious. My dad might have called himself an atheist once or twice, but he never made a big deal of it. My mum believed in God, but rarely talked about it. Religion just wasn't something we discussed. The closest we got to engaging with it was attending weddings, funerals, and the occasional christening. Still, as a kid, I had those moments where I'd pray to bargain my way out of trouble. God, fix this and I'll be good, I swear. Spoiler. Neither the fixing nor the promises stuck. It was a phase many kids probably go through. Things shifted around grade 4 when I discovered books. Not because I was a precocious reader, but because I had a crush on a girl who was reading The Lord of the Rings. I read it to impress her. The crush fizzled, but my love for intellectual exploration didn't. By puberty, I'd already started calling myself an atheist, though I barely understood what that really meant. At the time, it was less about deeply held beliefs and more about rebelling, an anti-authoritarian streak I probably inherited from my dad, whom I saw as rigid and unyielding. I wasn't a serious atheist, just a defiant kid figuring things out. In my late teens and early 20s, I wandered into the world of serious woo. New Age spirituality, Reiki, drumming circles, and more than a few chemically enhanced psychedelic journeys made their way into my life. At one point, I convinced myself I was an empath, holding people's wrists and rambling about their emotions. Spoiler, it was just cold reading. Looking back, it's all a bit ridiculous and cringeworthy. This phase fortunately ended when I finally ditched the crystal necklace I once wore very proudly. Then came the swing to the other extreme, militant, adamantine anti-theism. I devoured Hitchens, embraced hard skepticism, and became the kind of person who'd argue about religion at the drop of a hat. But eventually, I calmed down. Thank fuck. Over time, I found myself drawn to secular humanism. It was close to what I was looking for, but still, something about it didn't feel quite right. It felt incomplete, like it was merely an attempt to rebrand atheism or agnosticism as something more palatable. It seemed like a decorative basket to present rationalism or a spoonful of sugar to make the medicine go down. Around this time, I was knee-deep in a creative project, making a constructed language. Like many families from other parts of the world, my wife and I wanted a private language. Esperanto initially seemed promising, but it didn't scratch the itch, so I made my own. Over years of work, I built a functional language with a dictionary of over 10,000 words. This project is still ongoing and will probably never be finished. But here's why that matters. Creating my language mirrored my philosophical journey. Just as Esperanto didn't quite fit my linguistic goals, atheism and humanism didn't fully meet my existential needs. Atheism is just a position on the question of gods, and the supernatural to many as well, and agnosticism is about the limits of knowledge and knowability. Neither, on their own, offers a complete worldview or a framework for life. Traditional religions, for all their supernatural baggage, provide a lot. Guidance on how to live, find meaning, and connect with something greater than oneself. That realization planted the seeds of Mystrikism. I wanted something that could offer what religion does, but without the irrational dogma and supernatural baggage. I envisioned a framework grounded in reason, ethics, and awe, a rational, naturalistic way to live a meaningful life. As someone who fully embraces the fact that I'm a certified moron, I needed to build an intellectual framework that acknowledges human imperfection while providing ethical guidance rooted in the self-correcting methods of science and the undeniable power of compassion. Creating Mystrikism wasn't about reinventing the wheel. It was about building a syncretic system that draws from the best ideas across human history, cultures, philosophies, and religions, while grounding everything in natural reality. In Mystrikism, truth is always provisional, what we call the best current provisional approximation of objective truth, always open to revision as we learn more. The methodologies of science are central to its ethos, because science is the most reliable way we've found to sift truth from error despite our human flaws. Ethics are equally fundamental. Mystrikism prioritizes kindness and the reduction of suffering for all life, not overly focused on humanity, including nature's ecosystems and the environment. And then there's the sense of awe, what some might call spirituality, but entirely naturalized, with no superstitious elements. Over time, the idea evolved. I realized Mystrikism could be more than a personal philosophy. It could serve as a unifying identity that others might appreciate and resonate with. The term union was chosen deliberately. Just as workers form unions to address the power imbalance between individuals and industrial owners, I saw a similar need for non-believers. While humanism is profoundly admirable, it remains inherently constrained. It's right there in the name itself. Despite their considerable numbers, unbelievers and skeptics are often at a disadvantage. They lack political influence and struggle to compete with the cohesion and organization of entrenched, superstitious ideologies. At best, fragmented and isolated communities, and at worst mere individuals, are left to challenge these vast forces alone, without the collective framework or momentum needed to steer humanity toward a genuinely rational and ethical future. The Union of Mystrics aims to transform this dynamic. Rooted in shared principles and mutual growth, it offers a collective identity and purpose for those who reject the paranormal on scientific grounds, yet crave meaning, purpose, and inspiration firmly anchored in reality. More than just an ethos, Mystrikism is a source of empowerment, bridging the divide between isolated individuals and a shared vision for a rational, ethical, and awe-filled future.